So, I'm back to give the second update on my music review app. In the last video, all I had was some database schemas. I was kind of fleshing it out inside of mySQL and trying to figure out just how exactly I want it to work. Now, like I said, it was a very crude schema. Nothing's final, so I just have a bunch of dummy data in there right now. If you take a look, been doing a lot of testing, trying to get some stuff up. That's why I apparently have 143 users. But, so, talked about the database in the last video. Next, so database would be the bottom layer. The next layer is going to be the API to talk to said database and also respond to the client. So we're kind of building the next layer on top of the database, which is the API. So starting off, we have this page, server.js. This is a pretty simple page. This page as well as db.js. db.js just sets up my my database connection here to MySQL, and then anytime I need to read or write to a database, we'll just bring in that db module. So as far as the server.js, this is just importing Express. It's going to listen at port 9001. It's over 9000. And then we're also going to be using these API routes here. So we just need to bring them in. So server.js, pretty simple. Okay. So now inside of the actual API routes, this is what I've been working on. I've really only worked on the users, but the reason what's good about this is that it's going to be a lot of copy and pasting. So once I flesh out one, then I will be able to flesh out the others. So let's look at some routes, and then we'll hop into Postman and test some of those routes, just because I don't want to be sitting here typing in localhost 9001 / blah blah blah. We can make GET requests and POST requests and send data all inside of Postman without any kind of front end client. So let's get it. So let's just hop into user. This is the one that I've been working on, but I'll show you guys the other ones first, just so you can kind of get a feeling. So bring in Express router, which is lets us route to it, and then we're going to bring in this DB. Like I said, on the artist page, I just have the things set up, and I mainly copy and pasted all of this from my users, which we'll get to here in a second. So basic Crud functionality is going to be here. So add a new artist, add update an artist, delete an artist. Right now, I only have plans for me being able to do that, and then maybe down the line, I'll somehow, I don't even know, because like I said, this is a huge project, and I know what I need to do, but I don't really know how to implement it yet. So I'd want to be able to set privileges so you can, add new artists, etc. However, this is my site, so I kind of want it to just be stuck to me. But as far as code functionality goes, I do want it to be able to do that. So yeah, basic CRUD. And then I was messing around with this. It's just a simple SQL query, because when I pull up the artist page, it's going to be in a React app. So we're going to send in lots of different information as JSON packets to my React app. And hypothetically for this artist page here, I'd want something like, how many songs do we have in the database? How many albums do we have in the database? That would be this. Like average song rating, average album rating. We can go runtime. There's so much data that we have that I essentially want to call the API. The API is going to ask the database these queries, and then it's going to take that, make it a JSON packet, send it to the front end, and the front end will display. So I was just testing around with this. Similar with reviews, it's not fleshed out yet. Songs can be a lot of the same thing. CRUD functionality, as well as the ability to leave a like on the song. So songs, pretty simple as well. Yep, some CRUD functionality, as well as leaving a like and adding a review. So the CRUD is going to be super simple, right? Get, which will just be select all from artists where ID is equal to ID, and obviously on the front end if you click on, let's say, Kanye West, the front end is going to know that Kanye West's ID is 3. It'll just send me back 3. Boom, boom. Database will send it back. Boom, boom. Like that. It's not that simple. So yeah, so some Crud functionality, as well as the ability to like a song and then add your review to a song. So that way I can add reviews via the front end and it still gets saved into the database. All right, so now let's look at the actual 2 things that I've been working on, because the rest of the app is pretty bare bones right now. So I'll just talk through this and then we'll hop into Postman and test it, because I don't want this video to go over 10 minutes. Okay, so essentially, starting from here. Now, I wrote a lot of comments down, because like I said, when I review this, I want to be able to know what it is, and sometimes I do get confused. So up here, we're just checking the info that's going to get sent in, that's getting sent. So it has to be a username, it has to have an email, and it has to have a password. We will test that in a second. Actually, I think I already have that up. So if I come over here, let's go to post users. We'll come back to that. Whatever. Okay, so we're gonna check all that stuff, and then if we have any errors, just go ahead and return the errors. Okay, then we're gonna destructure the information from the request body. So when we make a request, it's gonna come in like this. Obviously, there's gonna be a form that the user is gonna fill out, or a click event, or something like that. It's not like they're gonna type this in, but this is the information that's getting sent. So it's going to check the information, you know, name, email, and password of at least 6 characters. It's going to check that. Then we're going to destructure that. We're going to use bcrypt to hash the password, just so it's not storing plain text in my database. Okay, and then we're going to make an object with the new user. So essentially, we're just taking this body, hashing it, and then putting it back inside of an object. Okay, and then from there, so essentially what we're doing is, this is the register route. So essentially, they're going to type in their email. It's going to first check to see if they're in the database, and if they are, just go ahead and send the JWT token. If they're not, add them to the database, and then when they try to log back in, obviously they won't get, you know, you'll be in the database, so that way it'll send the token over. So this JWT token is going to be used for that authentication, and then we'll just come down here. So simple query. It's just a simple query, and then essentially we're using the mySQL library on top of it, just so we can, you know, talk to MySQL via Node. Okay, and then this is sending the token. And then we're going to use that token to authenticate, so that way we have those private and public routes. Okay, hopping into our authenticate. Now, like I said, I'm having some issues getting the actual password validator to work. Hey, but it's all good. But this is essentially, it's going to check the database, right? And then it's going to compare what's being sent into like the login screen, so email, password, to what's in our database using bcrypt, and then it's just going to send over a token. Okay, so now let's hop in, and apparently I broke my app, but let's hop into Postman. Oh, I just forgot a comma. All right, so let's do this. So I'm going to go to post users, so that's this route here. So if I am correct, hopefully, this will say, please enter a password of 6 or more, because the password is only 4. Wow, it worked. So I'm happy about that. So please enter a password, okay? And then if we go ahead and enter that password, right, success, we are registered, aka this this email is not already in our database, okay? However, if I try to send it again, since it is in our database, it's not going to register, okay? It's instead going to return that JWT token, which I'm going to use to authenticate. So we'll copy this, and I'll pull over JWT, whoops. And if we go ahead and hop in, you can see that ID shows up right there, bang. So that's the ID, and then we can obviously check it inside the real database. Let's run this guy. And then, whoops, the last one. So like I said, right there, that's what we just added in, 144. That's what we just typed in. And then, as you can see, the password isn't word65 because that's a plain text password. It's a hashed password in our database. So that way, someone somehow accesses our database, they can't just see everyone's password. It's security, you know? So, like I said, from here, we're essentially, so this is the login route. I know it's kind of hard to see. It's hard for me to kind of comprehend because on the front end, it's just going to be a simple login page. But essentially, we're taking whatever the user types in when they want to register. We're going to check to see if that's in the database. If it is, just log them in via the token. If it's not, add them to the database, and then once they redo it, they can log in via that token. So that's essentially what I've been doing. We're getting the API up and running as well as authentication. That is what I've been doing. And then obviously, like I said, the albums, artist, songs aren't necessarily going to be hard because they're all the same things: create, read, update, delete, and then some other things like likes, maybe favorites, maybe reviews, things of that nature. But it shouldn't necessarily be difficult. And then once the API is built up, we can then hop into React to ask the said API information to pull into our React app. So the database is bottom layer, API is the top layer, or next layer, and then some authentication stuff, and then the client side. So we are getting there slowly but surely. But like I said, this project is a bit bigger than I expected. All right, till the next video.